Annihilation of Caste by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Part 20. The name of Professor Radhakrishnan is big enough to invest with profundity whatever he says and impress the minds of his readers. But I must not hesitate to speak out my mind, for I fear that his statement may become the basis of a vicious argument that the fact of survival is proof of fitness to survive. It seems to me that the question is not whether a community lives or dies. The question is on what plane does it live? There are different modes of survival, but not all are equally honorable. For an individual as well as for a society, there is a gulf between merely living and living worthily. To fight in a battle and to live in glory is one mode. To beat a retreat, to surrender, and to live the life of a captive is also a mode of survival. It is useless for a Hindu to take comfort in the fact that he and his people have survived. What he must consider is what is the quality of their survival. If he does that, I am sure he will cease to take pride in the mere fact of survival. A Hindu's life has been a life of continuous defeat, and what appears to him to be life everlasting is not living everlastingly, but is really a life which is perishing everlastingly. It is a mode of survival of which every right minded Hindu who is not afraid to own up to the truth will feel ashamed. There is no doubt, in my opinion, that unless you change your social order, you can achieve little by way of progress. You cannot mobilize the community either for defense or for offense. You cannot build anything on the foundation of caste. You cannot build up a nation. You cannot build up a morality. Anything that you will build on the foundation of caste will crack and will never be a whole. The only question that remains to be considered is how to bring about the reform of the Hindu social order, how to abolish caste. This is a question of supreme importance. There is a view that in the reform of caste, the first step to take is to abolish subcaste. This view is based upon the supposition that there is a greater similarity in manners and status between subcaste than there is between castes. I think this is an erroneous supposition. The Brahmins of northern and central India are socially of lower grade as compared with the Brahmins of the Deccan and southern India. The former are only cooks and water carriers, while the latter occupy a high position. On the other hand, in northern India, the Vaishya and the Kayasthas are intellectually and socially on a par with the Brahmins of the Deccan and southern India. Again, in the matter of food, there is no similarity between the Brahmins of the Deccan and southern India, who are vegetarians, and the Brahmins of Kashmir and Bengal, who are non vegetarians. On the other hand, the Brahmins of the Deccan and southern India have more in common so far as food is concerned with such non Brahmins as the Gujaratis, Marwaris, Baniyas, and Jains. There is no doubt that from the standpoint of making the transition from one caste to another easy, the fusion of the Kayasthas of northern India and the other non Brahmins of southern India with the non Brahmins of the Deccan and the Dravidian country is more practicable than the fusion of the Brahmins of the south with the Brahmins of the north. But assuming that the fusion of subcaste is possible, what guarantee is there that the abolition of subcaste will necessarily lead to the abolition of caste? On the contrary, it may happen that the process may stop with the abolition of subcaste. In that case, the abolition of subcaste will only help to strengthen the caste and make them more powerful and therefore more mischievous. This remedy is therefore neither practicable nor effective and may easily prove to be a wrong remedy. Another plan of action for the abolition of caste is to begin with inter-caste dinners. This also, in my opinion, is an inadequate remedy. There are many castes which allow interdining, but it is a common experience that interdining has not succeeded in killing the spirit of caste and the consciousness of caste. I am convinced that the real remedy is intermarriage. Fusion of blood can alone create the feeling of being kith and kin, and unless this feeling of kinship, of being kindred, becomes paramount, the separatist feelings the feeling of being aliens created by caste will not vanish. Among the Hindus, intermarriage must necessarily be a factor of greater force in social life than it need be in the life of the non Hindus. Where society is already well knit by other ties, marriage is an ordinary incident of life. But where society is cut asunder, marriage as a binding force becomes a matter of urgent necessity. The real remedy for breaking caste is intermarriage. Nothing else will serve as the solvent of caste. Repeat, the real remedy for breaking caste is intermarriage. Nothing else will serve as the solvent of caste.